This summer, Everton are heading over to the United States on a pre-season tour and are playing Adrian Heath's Minnesota United. If you're going to attend that game, head on over to mnufc.com to purchase your tickets. Use the promotion code COYB22 and we'll see you there.
Welcome to Toffee TV. It's the Daily Live Extra. Loads and loads of things are going on, but nothing is going on.
Yeah.
It's like rumour central. We're getting taken over. There's a sly new kit. Richarlison wants to sign for Spurs. Spurs have upped the ante, but there's nothing happening. It's like tumbleweeds. We're in the real world of Everton. It's very, very, very strange.
I mean, I'm sure things are.
It's the calm before the storm, isn't it?
I done it yesterday. The seed coming through the soil. It'll be there. Be there at some stage.
Then it hits the concrete.
Then, if you put stuff over it, yeah. There is. I mean, there's a lot going on, isn't there?
There is.
Well, there's a lot of noise around.
There's a lot of noise.
Yeah, that's probably.
And
better.
there's a lot of smoke. And with smoke, it normally means.
Yeah, there's a little
someone's
bit of fire going on
in the kitchen. So let's deal with.
What are we going through?
Let's just deal with the takeover stuff again.
Okay.
Ironically, John Blaine's in the other room, and I'm sure we'll sit down with him.
Not convinced. John.
Well, don't give it away. No. We'll sit down with him this afternoon.
You don't know what he's
it'll
not convinced about. You name 4 subjects.
I think it might be.
It's Ned. He's not convinced about.
Okay.
We'll see.
We'll sit down with him this afternoon and do something for Patreon. Takeover again. Matt Law spoken.
Yeah.
About it and said, they're trying to get things in place for the time we get to Minneapolis, so he can does he want to come out like it's WrestleMania and his theme music just starts playing and he just comes out with walking like Vince McMahon. I mean, don't act like Vince McMahon, but you walk like him. And giving it all the bifters because the club he's buying are playing in his hometown.
I don't know. Sounds like it. I mean, I've had a couple of messages from people in the press saying it's very convenient. The distraction from other things, that other scrutiny that was going on at Everton.
But
it depends whether.
But the irony is, though, in that statement is there isn't. There is nobody shining a spotlight on what Everton are doing. So it's not it doesn't really matter. No one seems to be asked.
Conversation's different.
Yeah, but no one seems to be asked. No one's talking about how badly run Everton are. No one's even breaching that conversation. No one's talking about it. What they're talking about is
it was just an interesting.
What they're talking about is the sponsor, which obviously from the news from last night, in terms of it being an issue, isn't an issue. That doesn't mean it's not morally right or whatever, and that we can say. But that's sort of nothing to worry about now. We all know the financial fair play situation, but no one's really that bothered about it. It's like, well, just you're gonna have to sell Richarlison, and so I don't know. I understand the point. I just don't see anyone putting any major scrutiny on Everton anyway. No one seems to just be asked, quite frankly.
A lot of stories for people not being asked.
No, there's a lot of stories about the club, but none of them concern the people who run the club and why they're still running the club. No, there's no scrutiny on them, so I don't understand why.
With the takeover stuff, do you not find it strange that there's only one consortium that...
No, there's only one consortium that are making any noise about it.
That's what I mean. Because it's not Everton, I imagine it's not Everton that are leaking it, because it doesn't make sense. So why are they so noisy? If they're genuinely gonna buy it, and I've had, again, a couple of people have looked into them and said, actually, the fella's not worth any money. He's got no money. He's a property developer. The other fella's obviously got access to money because he's had some big... So unless there's 2 or 3 big hitters in the background who haven't come to the fore as part of this consortium, then it's a strange one. People can't understand it. I've seen this report today saying something along the lines of they want to get into sports portfolios now and all that. And that would make sense if they're going to become like a hedge fund, if that's what it's going to be.
I thought the fella from Minnesota was worth $4 billion.
I mean, I don't know. This is what
the gold fella's not worth
people
much.
Have just.
I don't think the gold fella's worth much, but I thought the other fella,
Kamienski.
I thought Kamienski was worth 4 billion. But
I don't know.
That's all.
Someone
Again,
can
it's very
tell us.
shady. It's not a.
Because
You can't really
pin
them
it down. Because last week or the week before, they were linked to another fella, and the worth was 31 billion. But then that's gone away. Do you know what I mean? So I don't.
It's been a rough couple of weeks.
It has, you know. You've had money in cryptocurrency, and it's gone.
You've been with John Terry.
Yeah. So the thing is, if they said, listen, the consortium consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and their access to money is 20 billion or something. Do you know what I mean? Then you'd go, oh right, I understand it. But just when you're looking at it on the face of it, I just wonder why there's so much noise from them. Now, is it to put pressure on the owner?
Why does anyone do anything?
Yeah, just.
Do you know what I mean? No.
Do you not find it a little, just a little? Or I mean, as someone messaged me before saying, well, no, with American takeovers, they normally do leak a lot of noise. So I'm just asking.
The only one I can really think about is the Chelsea one, which has just happened, and there was a lot of noise from a lot of people, and I don't, maybe, yeah. And I don't know whether.
I'm obviously no expert on this.
No, I'm no expert. I'm looking at it from a public point of view. The last one that actually happened was the Chelsea one in the Premier League, and there was a lot of noise because there was a lot of people. A lot of people wanted to buy it, and it went down to a short list. And the guy from the Dodgers bought it. I think there was stories about it quite, daily. It wasn't like this group just appeared from nowhere at the end of it. I don't know. I couldn't tell you because I don't know how things get done anymore.
Yeah.
Everything seems to be in the public eye. Everything seems to be about court and attention. Nothing gets done now quietly. So I don't know. I don't know if you could actually hold it up against one takeover against another takeover and say, well, that's definitely happening because, or it's not happening. Sorry, because they're making loads of noise about it. There must be reasons why these people have decided to make a lot of noise, and I don't know what those reasons are, other than they're just trying to either build excitement or they're trying to flush machinery out. I don't know. But whether there's other people in the background, like has been mentioned, now that if it becomes, it feels like it's public knowledge that the club are for sale, but. Again, though, because there's nothing coming from the club, there's nothing definite, and because all these things are coming from third-party journalists, there's no. You couldn't definitely sit here now and go, well, Everton are absolutely up for sale, because all we're getting is these talks. But it's not going away, is it? It seems to be every week. It seems to be progressing a little bit more. The story seems to move on a little bit more. We're told last week we were told that they visited Finch Farm and they visited Bramley-Moore Dock, and now we're being told that they're trying to get the thing in place for the 21st of July or whatever, or for when we play in Minnesota. So it's not like it's just sitting there and it's just like he's interested. This story is moving along every single week. And I think that's the strange thing for me. It's not like these are interested in buying Everton. Every week there's been a little add-on. And that's what's interesting about it. Like there is, take all the skepticism away from it. If you were sitting there and looking at it, you go, this is happening. This is moving in the direction that it needs to move for it to happen. So, we'll know more in the next couple of weeks, but whether there's anyone in the background, but why the motives for it, I've got no idea. I don't know why you would be telling everybody. I really don't. I don't know. And like you said before, the easiest thing to say is, well, maybe it's just a smokescreen. Maybe it's just these people, someone at Everton wants this to happen, wants these noises to go out so that it keeps people looking at the situation at the football club.
That's strange as well, though, isn't it? The whole thing just is a bit... I just find it a little bit weird, because, like, you can only go off the last time we were bought, and that, like, no one had heard anything about Farhad Moshiri until Everton released the thing saying he'd bought, he'd agreed the sale. It was the others, it was the Americans, you know, the other Americans who were getting all the, who had a little bit of noise. And it was a will they, won't they? You know, they want to look at the books and do due diligence and all that. Next minute, Moshiri was the owner. And it was like, where did that come from? I'm just wondering with this, is it the same kind of thing, or are these just the front runners, but they're making loads of noise while the real contenders are in the background?
Well, you'd have to ask yourself, what do they get out of it if it isn't real? What does Peter Kenyon, what do these men get out of being linked with Everton Football Club? What are their other interests? What are they looking into? You know, because you've got two sides of things. You've got things like Chelsea, where there's a lot of people interested. There's a lot of money on the table. There's a lot of really serious people, and then I suppose you get the other end of the spectrum, where you've got Derby County, where you've got a lot of people seeing something that is on the rocks, and there's a desperation that you need to get people in, and we've seen already 3 or 4 consortiums fall at the final. Well, basically they had to prove the money, and they couldn't prove the money, and now we've got someone else who it looks like they're very, very close to buying it, at its absolute bottom level. And so you've got two ends of the spectrum there, and I don't know where Everton lie in that. I mean, obviously we're not obviously on the bottom end of it, because I think, if the stadium wasn't happening, then I think we would be somewhere. I think it would be a very much easier sale, but because the stadium's on the way, that gives any potential buyer such a huge opportunity to walk into in the next couple of years. So it is really difficult to actually understand what's going on. It would probably be a lot easier if we didn't feel like something, or we didn't know something was happening. But then a lot of people will be sitting around thinking, like you said before, it's almost like something's going to happen, and that's positive. That's good, because otherwise, if that wasn't there, God, the summer would be shaping up to be horrendous for a lot of people, because things can't happen quick enough. About to sell one of your 2 best players, the summer's looking really bad. But then if you add this little bit of something in the next few weeks where it's like, yeah, but we're getting taken over, and then there's other talk saying, when people go, oh, there's money to spend, and people are like, well, we can't spend money, we can all that. Oh, then that must mean there's loads of sponsors ready to come, and it's like, it's almost like you're deluding yourself to think, oh, it's not as bad as it is. Whereas if they weren't there, you'd be like, fuck, this is horrendous. So it's going to be very, very interesting next few weeks, whether this turns into something real, or whether it is smokescreen, or whether there are other people out there. Yeah, we'll wait and see.
I mean, apparently there are other people out there, but if they are, then why aren't they making a move? If this is moving as much and as quickly as the story seems to suggest it's moving, then if I was wanting to buy something, I think I'd be throwing my hand in by now, going, we want to buy it. Yeah. We're after, because that seemed to happen with Chelsea, didn't it? With Chelsea, it seemed to be like, there's this bid, these are interested, and the next minute there was another bid, then there was another bid, and before you knew it, there was half a dozen wanting to buy. And I know Chelsea are the Champions League club, and big, they're in London and all of that. They're always up near the top. I get all that. I'm not saying Everton are as attractive as Chelsea, because they're not, but with them, other people showed their hand, and I don't know whether that was just because of the situation. It meant they had to, because it was a forced sale, basically, wasn't it? It was almost taken out of Abramovich's hands, wasn't it? So I don't know whether it happened that way. I don't know whether this isn't as far along as what these want it to be, and that's why they keep pushing.
Ultimately, there could be someone else very much in the frame who's talking to Farhad Moshiri as we speak, and but obviously nothing's coming out from the club, and if nothing's coming out of the club and nothing's coming out of a potential other suitor, then we'll never know. And I think all along what we have said, and I think maybe this is what John Blaine said, is that there is, these people may be trying to force something to be quicker than it is because they've gone public. They want to spark the imagination maybe of the fan base. Whereas for a quick sale, whereas other people in the background might be like, no, we need to take our time with this. And that the easiest thing to do to tell a football fan is, if we buy your football club, there will be money available.
Yeah,
and money equals players. Yeah. And that's the easiest thing to tell anyone. We'll give you what you want. But we got what we wanted, and it hasn't really worked out that well. So it might be a case of just they think the publicity is going to push this quicker. It's going to put pressure on Farhad Moshiri. But I don't really see that pressure, because I don't think people are clamouring for a sale. Because I think most people look at it as in, like, this has to be done correctly. There's far too much at stake for this to just be pushed along, and for us, all us fans, to be swept up in it. I don't think there's, I looking, on social media and stuff like that, as much as people dislike or don't have a high regard for the people who run the club now, I don't think anybody's just saying, just sell, because I think we are all now like, no, we have to be careful who we sell to, because there's a lot at stake. This has to be done right. If it's not done right, if we get the wrong people in, and let's be honest, the names that we've been mentioned and pictures and stuff suggest there's a couple of people in there who morally don't seem to be the right people. So I think fans aren't. I don't think anyone's clamouring saying we've got to get this done, because most people understand, even if it gets done, it doesn't give us power to buy.
There would be a clamouring if it was a case of, like, we get these in, we've got money.
Yeah, of course,
like,
and I think that doesn't change anything. And I think that's where, when you hear numbers, there's going to be $1 billion to. It's like, there isn't, is there? There ain't going to be $1 billion, is there? Okay, because 500 million has to pay for the stadium anyway, which is locked in anyway, because it's getting built. So that's not real money. That's getting built. Don't like try and fool us by going, there's $1 billion, and then we can't buy money. We can't buy. The money doesn't matter. It's not. It's a rule. It's not about not having any money. There's a rule there that says you can't spend money because you made all those losses, and we don't allow any more sugar daddies to just fill the pot up for you. So it's not even a case of, so it is very interesting, and as you said, the media side of it is really interesting as well, and it would be great to get to the bottom of why that is, and only only time will tell. We've got, they're saying, or the media saying, that they want it done for the American tour, or they want things in place to take.
They want the agreement.
Yeah.
It's been
so
clarified.
They've given themselves a
3 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah.
The game's 3 weeks today, actually, in Minnesota, isn't it? So, yeah, it's gonna be. It is that interesting. It's still slightly weird, but it's also interesting. But Nathan Hamlin says, "How would this takeover help us with FFP? I'm curious. Does it absolve us of debt or increase our value? Doesn't absolve us of any debt whatsoever. It won't, with FFP and it's profit and sustainability, it won't actually change anything. They'll just own Everton Football Club. That Everton will still be in the situation they're in. I've seen a lot of people saying, like you said before, they bring loads of sponsors. Well, we discussed this last week, didn't we? And said that might be one way if they bring some sponsors, but that's not going to be huge amounts of money.
As we've mentioned before, though, the caveat to this is we don't know what the agreement is with the Premier League, so we don't know what wiggle room we've got. Of course, on Friday we go into a new financial year, and therefore it might be in normal cases, because it rolls, you sort of start again. You balance yourself out. So at the beginning of the year, you could go and spend X, and as long as you make that money back in the year, it's balanced, isn't it? But because of where we are, we don't know whether the Premier League will allow us to do that. Because let's be honest, it's like anything. If you keep going over your, overdraft. The bank are just going to go, you can't have that overdraft anymore, or we're going to cut your overdraft till you pay. You can pay. You need to pay it back, and you're getting it back, and all the rest of it. And we might be in the same situation. Like we said last couple of days, Everton could potentially, if they had enough breathing room, which it doesn't look like they have, because they really have made a mess of this. This is why it's dead easy to scoff at what Leeds and Burnley did, but they must feel, and other clubs must feel, that Everton are way past where they should be. Now Everton, at the end of this season coming, we'll get a new kit sponsor. Don't know who it is. Might be Hummel, might be somebody else. So straight away, that's a new deal. That's 100%. So Everton could go, well, we know we're getting that new deal. So that's going to be, if we announce that at the end of this financial year, not next financial year, that could be X amount. And if we buy players now, well, that covers that. If you were sound on your FFP, then yeah, you probably could do that. But we probably aren't in that kind of situation, and they could potentially turn around and go, oh, we're going to announce all these really exciting sponsors over the course of the season, and they will pay for it. Those sponsors will help pay for the players we buy now, and the FFP will be sorted. But it just doesn't feel like where we are with FFP that the Premier League are going to give us that wiggle room. They want the cash up front, don't they? By the looks of it, they want it like January. Luca Dean.
Everton have said, haven't they? Everton have obviously had an agreement with them that in this financial year, the one that ends tomorrow night at midnight, we won't have made losses of whatever. Now that, if Everton sell Richarlison by tomorrow night, which they may well do, then it goes on this year's financial year. So if Everton get 50 million for Richarlison, for argument's sake, and I hope it's more, but let's just say it's 50 million, then that 50 million's on this year's financial thing. Everton's still got 50 million quid, but it's in the books for this year. It brings, so imagine if Everton are somehow 15 million over or 20 million over what they should be, and the Premier League are going, that sales got, so Everton sell Richarlison and bring it right down. So Everton finished the financial year under the £105 million loss or whatever it is. They finish under it. Everton can go, we complied, and the Premier League go, there's the books. There's the books for this. We told you, we haven't done anything because they've done it. On Friday, Everton have still got £50 million in the pot. And now they've got a year to spend it. And what some clubs do, and I think Everton tried to do this last year with Moise Keane, only it fell short, was spend on the front end and sell on the back end. So you go, well, like similar to what you just said. But Everton go, well, we're going to spend £100 million this transfer window, and we'll get it back by next June. And that might be we finish in Europe, and we get this, and we get sponsors, and we get that. If not, we're selling Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and we'll do that deal a bit cheaper than we should have done because we might need to. And so you're almost gambling with that the future. And until Everton start bringing in, instead of £20 million commercial revenue, £50 million commercial revenue, and things like that, it's gonna have to be like that. That's why the pivot, just seen him, this message on Twitter, and he's right, is that when he was talking about this, people were ripping him, going, oh man, become what? Sell on FC. It's the way you have to do it now. No matter what anyone says, and we hear Arsenal, Arsenal spending 400 odd million, another £200 million summer that they have every year now. They still create a lot of revenue. And because they're higher up the league, it all gets poured into the pot. And it comes out and goes, right, you've got that amount of money to spend. And we can be frustrated and look and go, how come Arsenal can spend and we can't? Well, because all the money coming in, there's a fucking big hole in the bottom of the cup where it's just running out. And until we plug that...
And don't forget it, and I think we all do forget these kind of things as well, is that, the likes of your Arsenal, their ticket prices...
Ticket prices are bigger.
Are much bigger than ours.
Europe a lot of years.
Th're much bigger before
bigger.
Before we even start, though.
Stadiums better.
Of course, more tickets, more expensive tickets. That's your baseline before you've already started. So, and obviously that's what Bramley Moore's going to give us. But
so that's where we are.
It is. It's
horrible, isn't it? It's a horrible position to be in, because you want to think you've got a similar chance as everyone else to build, but you haven't. So you've got to be smarter. You've got to be smarter. You've got to know your targets, and I've just been talking to John there, because one of the things that have come out is Tottenham will knock Dele Alli payments off Richarlison to bring the fee down. Obviously, people will be frustrated with that. But I was just having a chat to John, and what he said was right. He said, well, Everton, that might be right. Everton might go, okay, well, because it's irrelevant, really. Everton wants 60 million for Richarlison. And Spurs go, well, don't give us that 10 million for Dele Alli then. So it's 50 million. Everton would still go, well, no, give us 60 million by tomorrow night.
And we'll give
you the 10 million back the next day. Yeah. But on our books, we've reduced our FFP. You still that money, regardless whether Tottenham pay or whatever. If Dele plays another 10 games for Everton or whatever it is, 9 games, we have to pay them 10 million.
I wonder if that's the same case with the Watford situation as well, where it's like, well, we'll take 60 for Richarlison tomorrow night, and then on Friday we'll pay Watford, and that way that goes in next year. And that's the stupidness of it all, isn't it? It is just mad.
So you have got to just, we have to have a look and wait and see what spits out. But I mean, the heat's getting put on for the Richarlison. He wants to join Tottenham now, and personal terms are agreed, and Everton they're close now and all that. It is what it is, isn't it?
No, it'll get done. It'll get done.
Think it'll get done tomorrow?
100%. Think it'll be. I think the agreement will be in place by tomorrow. Someone will say, "Well, that's so it's paid."
We've done it.
Yeah. I'm sure there must be something in it, like almost like transfer deadline day, where the balance sheet goes in. The deal sheet goes in, and it's like
the deal sheet.
Yeah. It's like it's done. We just have to tie the ends up, but it is done. I'm sure there's something within the Premier League that specifies that kind. Well, the deal was done. Yeah, okay. He's not been announced because he's going to do all his photos and all that. But I think it'll be done. I can't see how it can't be done, honestly. And I think we all know now. I think we've all had plenty of time to prepare ourselves for the player leaving, and the next thing will be, he'll be. I imagine there'll be a breakthrough in today, and then it'll be done tomorrow, and that'll be it. And I've seen a few different things about, I'll forget about him, how many goals and all this. He'll be back in 6 months. Like, don't blame the lad. Blame the people who've meant that Everton are in this position and can't do anything. And he has to be sold. That's the simple fact.
That's the thing.
He has to be sold.
It's not like we're desperate to keep him and he's storming around, because we'd have just said, you're not going. End off. Yeah. Unless someone pays 100 million for you, like Richarlison. So it's on. We've put ourselves in this position, and now we've got to dig ourselves out of it.
And Spurs will say they paid X for him, and we'll say we paid they paid O for him, and it'll be somewhere in the middle, and there will be agreements, and there will be things in place that, Tottenham are not stupid. They'll know we'll take less, or we'll need to take a certain deal, but there has to work in terms for financial fair play. We have to, what it says on the paper in terms of how it's structured and all that has to be beneficial for us, but they'll be getting them for what they want to get them for. They're not going to overpay for them because they know they don't have to. So
Luke says, I think of Richarlison every time I see a pigeon, and there's loads around that has crying face. Tyler says, gut feeling, lads, Richarlison sold in the next 36 hours. Yeah, I think that's how it seems anyway, Tyler. Brian says, imagine the buzz when you get over the pond and the new owners are announced with their professional people. Time for a street party.
Alan Myers has just said on Twitter, my guess is there's a number of people yet to show their hands in any takeover deal.
That's why people are waiting. That's what I'm saying. That's the thing to me, is that if it's bubbling under the surface, then this deal isn't as far along as what they're making out. And they're, like you said before, they're making lots of noise to try to force that into either flush someone out or to get Machiri to go, let's sign on the dotted line. Dean says, we all know that they would like the deal to be done, or at least agreed by the time we play in Minnesota. Do you think we'll be travelling to the US every year from now on?
Yeah.
I mean, this is
yes,
2 years on the run.
Yes, and the reason why I believe that is because we have absolutely zero impact on any other place in the world. It's as simple as that. We don't have fans anywhere else like as many as we do in America. We have nothing in Asia. We couldn't attract the numbers in Australia, even though I know there are lots of Evertons in Australia, but there's no way we could fill those stadiums. And I think in America, I think the thing with America is not only can we've got a lot of fans in America just because of the geography of the country itself, and we can get them all in one place. But I think also it's a good place for Evertonians to travel to. Evertonians will go, and that will boost those areas. And also, I think general football fans will probably come out and watch a game. Everton versus Arsenal. It's the ground is gonna have a lot of Arsenal fans and a lot of Everton fans. People will go because it's a Premier League game. And then when we go to Minnesota, it's for them. There'll be Evertonians and there'll be Minnesota fans. So I think and I think commercially we have to do it. I think we have to put a flag somewhere. And I don't see the point in going, let's try and crack the Asian market. We haven't got an Asian market. We just don't have an Asian market. No. It's just as simple as that. So we might as well go to a country which the Premier League is increasing year on, year out, and put a flag in and go, this is where we're going to come every year. And that might disappoint some of our fans in other countries, but we simply don't have enough fans in those places. No, we can't go there and fill, 90,000 stadium. We just can't. No. We don't have the fans. It's as simple as that. So yeah, I think, and if we don't, then we're idiots. So,
I think we will go. We'll go.
We should have been going for the last 10 years. We should have been going to America every single summer for the last 10 years. No, zero doubts about it. When we've had the players we've had and the connections we've had, and former players playing over there, and all those little links, and the fact that, don't forget, David Moyes went over there because he was like, these are the best facilities in the world. Why would I go anywhere else? Why would I go to anywhere else? This is where you get 2 brilliant sessions. I mean, we went over there and he brought a fitness coach back with him. That's how impressed he was by So yeah, I think we need to go every year.
Yeah, I think it's the only way, and I think we've like you said, 2 years on the run now. I think they'll try to go to different places. I'd love them to just go to like Atlanta and stay there for a week, like Georgia or something. Stay there for a week and do or whatever, and do like a proper
Seattle
thing or Seattle.
Places which have got big football markets. Atlanta is another one. Places that have got big football markets where you go and you plant your flag for a week and you say, we're going to play a couple of friendlies here. The women's team are going to play. The youth team are going to play. We're going to put clinics on. So we'll get our coaches are over here big coaching kids. For a week, yeah. We know that all our fans can come over for a week and we can really nailed down, and you play. You play a team like Seattle. Even if you played the same team twice, even if you went and played Seattle twice, or whatever, you're trying to build bonds with those football teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all a little bit. The whole thing's a little bit mad, isn't it? If we're honest. Fletcher Russell on the super chat says, "Nice one, mate." Says, I feel like the current ownership has thrown money at absolutely no target. If we get new owners, I want them to take us in the right direction. And that's it, Fletcher, isn't it? It's about being able to have a plan and follow it. We've had the money. We can't know what. That's the one thing I don't think people can really level it. Farhad Moshiri, he's put his money where his mouth is. He's just done it with no clear strategy. He's just gone, instead
of... There's millions.
It is, isn't it? And if they'd have done it properly, Everton wouldn't be in this mess.
But I don't think, though, that's a defence, though. I don't think that's a defence saying for it either. Don't get me wrong, the stadium stuff, all day I will say, the stadium stuff's fantastic. To get the stadium where it is, to get the designer, to start the build, for the people to get it through, 100%, that's been top notch. But we've had this conversation loads of times. That's like a really easy strategy because it is something you have to build. It's not something you can try and build. It's something you have to build. Yeah. You have to bring an architect in. You have to get the permission to build it. You have to buy the land. Everything has to be done perfectly. Otherwise, you never get it
but
off.
Building a football club should have been done like
but
that.
that's what I'm saying. But the thing about football is it's untangibles. People can come into your ear and tell you, well, if you buy this player, no one can come in your ear and go, if you use this cement, oh my God, the place will be amazing. Or if you know, do you know what I mean? Or let's change the design. You can't do that. Yeah. You just can't do that. So from that side of things, they've done brilliantly. But it doesn't really matter how much more. I've seen this argument before where people go, oh, you can't have a go at him. And I've seen some high-profile people say this as well. Oh, you can't have a go at him. He's put loads of money in. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much.
But he has put his money in.
Doesn't matter.
It does matter.
It doesn't.
It
doesn't.
It does.
It doesn't.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you.
How does it matter? If you put money in,
because he has tried.
He's destroyed the football club.
He's tried to cut corners.
Trying doesn't mean anything. Trying doesn't mean anything. I could put a 2 billion into I could put 100 million into building a car and it look like Homer's car. It doesn't matter. If you don't do it the right way, you end up like us. I refuse to believe that it doesn't matter how much money you spend and you should be applauded. Why?
I'm saying he should be applauded. I just said he's put his money where his mouth is.
But he shouldn't be applauded for that, though.
He come in and said he'd spend money, and
he shouldn't be
spent it in the wrong area.
But he shouldn't be applauded for that.
Who's applauding him?
No, that's what.
I'm
that's
the point I'm saying. He has tried, but what has let him down is
he's let himself,
lack of a plan.
He's let himself down.
Yeah, he has.
So no, this is my argument. Is people say, "Oh, he's done brilliantly because look at the money he's put in." No, he hasn't done brilliantly. He's took our football club to a position where we have to sell our best players to keep the club at a level that is not even competitive but compliant. With the rules of the league. He hasn't done brilliantly. He's just spent. He's got money and just gone. That's not doing brilliantly. If you did that in a normal business, you'd go bankrupt.
Of course,
you'd go bankrupt. Your company would go bust.
Like Peter Finn says, why do you think Everton have so many injuries? I don't believe in bad luck. I think it's because the players are not fit enough and the medical team is not good enough. So the players haven't been fit enough since Moyes left then, isn't it? And the medical team haven't been good enough since Moyes left. Because Everton have had injuries most seasons, bad injuries. Don't know. Do you keep blaming the players? Do you keep blaming the manager? Do you keep blaming the medical team? I don't know. But we've changed loads of stuff in that time and we've still had the same results. So, I don't know, Pete. James says, if you could have any American company as a sponsor on the sleeve, which one would you choose?
American companies? I wouldn't have an American company. Well,
you're going to have to. So.
I'd have like Sony, which they're like half American, half Japanese.
Brian says, not being petty or bitter, but pigeons end up doing whatever they do over your head. Not interested in badge kisses anymore. Good luck, Richie. Could have been a contender. We are Everton. Life goes on. And says, no scrutiny on the way Everton run, because it's not seller or news to anyone outside L4. It's all lazy pundits and journalists' inputs because we are not a fashionable
but what I would say is there's no scrutiny from Evertonians. There's no scrutiny from a lot of Everton's own media. There's no scrutiny from anyone. In fact, I am absolutely. I can't understand or believe the reaction to half the Evertonians this summer coming out of one of the worst seasons in a lot of people's lives, younger people's lives, and yet it's just like that'll be fine. Frank Lampard's here.
Gary Ball says howdy. Gray Lee says lads got to be 70 million for Richie, nothing less. No. Garbage Spurs plays included. We need the money, not liability. I honestly don't think we'll get 70 million for him.
No. What's Rafinha going for?
55 plus add-ons, really. Gray Lead says, think they're making lots of noise in the take for better press and damage control, personally. Okay. No disrespect, but maybe John Blaine saying it's the other people in the background who normally sweep in. Yanks aren't made that way. Maybe it's the new way of things. Maybe. Dean says the news isn't coming from Bill's minions in the press, which means he's outside the deal. And that is nothing but a good thing. Gray Lead says when we got leveraged, bought out by Ken Knight and Co, there was lots of noise. Alfie says Delhi bringing down the fee for Richie up the circus Toffees. Can't wait for these new owners. Yeah, but all I'd say, Alfie, is regardless of whether Tottenham knock that off, we've still got to pay that money to Tottenham when he hits 20 games. So it's know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's irrelevant, isn't it? Really, that money's still gonna be. If Spurs say nothing to do with Dele Alli, nothing at all, and give Everton 60 million quid, and then Everton have got to give Tottenham 10 million quid in September when he's played another 10 games, whatever. What difference? Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it doesn't really make much difference. That money's still got to go out, hasn't it? Richie says, "I lads can't understand all this talk about if the takeover happens, we'll suddenly have an influx of money to write off the debt. We won't. Surely this is what FFP was supposed to put a stop to. Clubs having to live within their means, ? Call for John Blaine. Any funds on the Richie t-shirts, they're boss like. No. Yeah, it doesn't change anything, Richie, the takeover. If it is taken over, what it'll change is I imagine they'll bring their own people in to run it, so that'll change. So there you go. That's quite a big change. But financially, right now, unless they bring in a few sponsorship deals, which they might, but it won't give Everton a huge influx of money, then nothing really will change. But we have to just start to turn it round ourselves, and hopefully if the right people who buy the football club, then hopefully they can instigate change, and that is by putting proper practices in place, getting better sponsorship deals, lowering the wage bill, stop paying players it's crazy money when they don't deserve it, and saying no sometimes. They want a player and the player wants 120 grand a week, so no, it's alright, we'll have this one for 70 instead.
Wage structure.
Got it. Brian says, glorious Spurs, Richie lad, the famous push and run champions of 61 with Dave Mackay. I'm sure you all know that. I've seen a few people, he's an idiot if he goes there, he won't win anything. Well, he probably won't win anything, but he'll play in the Champions League, and if he regrets it, it's on him, isn't it? It's his choice. But he's enjoyed playing for Everton, and we've done nothing. Spurs will be in Europe, so... Anthony says, only people responsible for this are the idiots who run the club. They need to go. Derek says, get all this business done and get some players in. Yeah. Toffee 2 says, is it more coincidence that we are playing in... More than coincidence, we are playing in Minnesota, as the main bidder is based there. If so, then the agreement to sell a club must have been in place when the fixture was announced. Interesting take.
Yeah, I think it's a coincidence.
Liam says, lads, if this is true about Spurs knocking down Richie's price with writing off possible add-ons for Delhi, and we go with that, it's a disgrace. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I literally, this one is, you've got to pay that money anyway. It's irrelevant, isn't it?
Is it though?
Well, it is, because it'll be on the book price.
It'll only be on the books next year though.
When Everton pay for them, yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, if it's in the...
So we got to pay it anyway. So Everton just go, well, you're going to give us 60 million for them. And then, yeah, we're giving you that money back for Delhi.
No, that's what I'm saying.
And you'll only pay
surely
40.
It can't be within the deal.
We'll see what happens. I think.
No, but surely it can't be in the deal. You want the money to be...
They will, won't they? Of course they will. Well, you would like to think they're not stupid. But it also depends how up the wall. What would you do? Would you take... Imagine if Everton really are facing a points deduction if they don't sell them by tomorrow.
Well, then they need to sell them then.
And Spurs say, well, we're only giving you 40, lads, that's it.
You have to take 40 then.
So people just need to just wait and see what happens. Believe in everything that's out in the papers as well, and losing the Reds. It is what it is. We can't... We're obviously right up against it, aren't we? Because we wouldn't even be entertaining any of these, would we? We'll just have to see. But we'll know, won't we? We'll know Friday, won't we? We'll know tomorrow night. Owen says, what you lads make of the league kit? Well, it's a goalie kit, isn't it? Quite clearly. It's not one of the kits, but it's probably...
Apparently it's a goalie kit, and this is the reason why, because it hasn't got any chevrons on the arms.
It's a goalie kit, then, because we know the colours of the three. It's not.
I know, but it is quite... because of the poor quality of the picture. I'm not 100%, because it looks red, doesn't it? Let's be honest, it looks black and red. It's gonna be black and red, is it? So
it'll be pink.
That's what I'm saying.
Black and pink it'll be. Brain Rat says new owner would sponsor every aspect of the team, sleeve, training ground. He can't though. He can't.
How would they do that?
Can't do it.
We tried. We did that with USM, and look at the scrutiny that came under. And that was a third part. That was a third party.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Machiri dropped his shares in it to get it over the line.
Mm-hmm.
So
you can't
just going to put a picture of themselves. And
you can't do it. I mean, is that interesting? Newcastle have been able to get Noom through.
Yeah, well, but there's no connection between their owners and their, even though they give them the money. But
they own it.
But they don't own it. The people who own that don't own that. It's too. Yeah, but they don't on paper. There's nothing on paper. They give money to them, but the same people don't own it because the people who own Newcastle aren't in the government. That's how they got through. So because everything gets because they just do what these people do, is which just cut everything up into different companies, and that's how they get round it. And the Premier League just go, oh, you're different companies.
He said it is that it's the thing, and if you any scratching shows you that it's them who own it, but the Premier League aren't bothered quite clearly. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Jack Lad wants us to keep Andre Gomez.
Yeah. He's
be gone, mate. He'll be gone. He's one of like the high priorities to get rid of, I believe. Summit. Matt Summer says crazy idea, but maybe a new owner would look into those sleeve sponsors we keep seeing. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. Trevor Longmore once says, can't the new owners just input a huge sponsorship deal to offset FFP? Isn't that what Man City do?
Yeah.
City do, but they're prepared to go to court.
You've got to have one, haven't you? You've got to have one lined up, haven't you? You can't just go, I'm going to put a picture of my son or my dog on the arm and say, you've got to have a legitimate third-party sponsor. And that's what we're saying with Newcastle. That's a legitimate third-party sponsor, which is owned by the same people. It's just that it's just not owned by the same people because the same way Newcastle are not owned by the Saudi Arabia government. Because you're not allowed to be owned by regimes, but that's how.
But they are.
And we all know they are. But if it's on paper, and the Premier League are not asked, they're not going to go digging around, scratching. Not when you've got a government that basically helped it go through. Not when you've got someone from the government. Yes, he's sitting there going, Saudi Arabia are our friends. Oh yeah, sound mate. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Adam says, say we get 50 million in for Richarlison, what would be your priority positions to fill? Well, we'd have to replace him, wouldn't we? For a start. We'd have to replace him, and then we need 2 centre midfield players. For me, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
That's where the biggest hole in the team is. But we'll have to see what they think, won't we? David Fry says we should not sell Richarlison and sign Dembele.
Okay, you on drugs?
We've got no money, mate, with knackered. Andrew says, I do find it funny that people who worship Canaanites online are the same people who are terrified of a new takeover. What if they saddle us with debt, like Canaanite did, says Andrew? What if they strip us of our assets? We don't have any. Seems to me we've been living in the worst case scenario of an owner for nearly since the 2000s, but because he's a blue, it's acceptable. We still don't, I'm not disagreeing with any of that. We still don't want us to have any more debt put on us, though, do we? Because we'd be wrecked then, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see how you could put more. Like,
you could put on the stadium.
You
put on the stadium.
Gray Leeds says I could try and fly a spaceship. Doesn't mean I'd be good at it. I'd need to know how and training to do the same. Comes with own and run on a footy club. Anthony Annett agrees with you, Ped. Daniel says I'd like to see Everton do something outside the box for getting our brand out around the world while potentially fixing the problem we have. Jeff Cavalier on Athlean-X YouTube has nearly 13 million subscribers. He's a professional trainer, personal professional trainer, works with top athletes. Why not pay him to come over and make a series of videos working with the squad? It could potentially fix the injuries while getting Everton back into a few million eyeballs.
Because that wouldn't be very professional, would it? From the start, getting some fella into coaching when he's only going to be there for a few days. Yeah. You know, these things are fit. You can't just get people fit over the space of a few days. It has to be months, and how you keep.
That's to employ them almost, wouldn't you?
It's how you keep people fit over a period of time. That's what it's all about.
Nick says, "Hi boys, I've read quite a lot regarding the takeover. My reading of it is the takeover will happen with Kenyon becoming the CEO and running all commercial deals as he did at United and Chelsea. Can you tell me come July the 1st we can spend what we want as long as we balance the books?" No, because the books aren't balanced. If Everton go past, I imagine, and I don't know because I've not seen Everton's books, but reading between the lines, if Everton go past tomorrow night without selling Richarlison, then one or two things will probably happen. They'll probably get a transfer ban, I imagine. And also the threat of points deduction, I think, might be suspended, but it might be, if you don't balance the books by next year, then you are minus 12 points for the next season, whatever.
By the way, this is all quite funny, considering today Paris Saint-Germain announced that their new sponsor is Qatar Airways.
There you go.
It's just hilarious, isn't it? The whole thing is hilarious.
Chad says, great to be able to listen live for the first time in ages. I'm quite nervous about any new owners as they think they could just saddle a club with debt, flog off the land around the stadium, or even worse, sell the stadium off itself. For all Mashiri's mistakes he's tried. Can't help thinking, this is off Richie, can't help thinking if Richie had stayed, he could have been a real legend alongside the likes of Ball, Kendall, No, I'm not having that. Could have been like an icon, but he's not a legend, mate. They have to win. They all won stuff, didn't they? Liam says, yeah, I get your point, Baz. Getting so frustrated with Everton. Nothing is positive about this stadium. I know, mate. Got to try to, though, haven't you? Because otherwise, pre-season hasn't even started and we're all down. Brian says, a shock announcement will be Everton kits and sports shops on our city airport. Imagine that. Mike says, if the Premier League knew that we would have to sell by June the 30th to stay within profit and sustainability parameters, why would the Premier League sanction our January signings have to be sold in? Wouldn't they be better telling us we couldn't buy any more signings given our precarious... Well, what if we said to them, we're selling one of our assets by the end of the financial year?
Ultimately, it's your rope to hang yourself with, isn't it? Yeah. Ultimately,
they can't. The Premier League can't tell you to do something. It's the agreements you put in with them. They can't. You know what's mad about this is, and John Blaine was saying this before, so it's his idea. It's not mine, but it's his idea. Him saying the Premier League can't really turn around and go, "You've got to sell Richarlison," because if you're weakening your position, because he's an asset, and you're selling it to another club, then you make profit and sustainability. You're making less profit than what you should do because they're putting you under pressure. But it's whether you've got the fortitude to have that argument, isn't it? Or whether you've got enough wiggle room. Dean says there was a temporary block on owners sponsoring themselves. There is nothing to stop this now. Once it's cleared by other teams and it hits FMV, all is good. Well, then if that's the case, then we may as well all pack up because Newcastle can just do it. And City, so there's no point even playing the game anymore. If they can just go, we're sponsoring ourselves. I mean, that isn't, the block hasn't gone on, by the way. It was if there was links and they had to prove they weren't the same people. That was what the block was. But if they allow you to just do that, then we may as well give up. We need to get a trillionaire, not a billionaire or whatever then, because we won't be able to live with anyone. Brian says, would the Forest lad Johnson come here? Don't know. Who knows? Chad says, and I'm definitely not a lovey build Lovey darling, Bill Lover. Kev says, I think we've missed the boat in the Asian market. The time we had Kale at the club, we should have done more over there when he was playing for us. Maybe we could employ Tim to promote our brand in the USA. The best thing Everton can do to promote their brand is actually run themselves properly and be better as a team. People will follow better teams. Simple as. You can all go on about, oh, we can do this, we can do... Ned, why is the stream still on? Yeah. Oh, it's just frozen on, man. That's all, it's back. So, yeah. Who knows? Yeah, there you go. Make sure you give the stream a like. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Tom says, I'd rather have straight cash for Richie from Spurs rather than less cash plus players. Mora, Berg, Winks are depreciating assets and uninspiring. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Really much more to say, is there? It's going to be an interesting end of the week, I guess. We'll see what happens with the Charles, and players are back Friday, of course. Other stuff happening this week. We'll know a bit more about the takeover, I guess, or maybe we won't. Maybe it'll just keep rolling. Brian says, crucial few weeks, lads. God bless those Boss fans. We deserve something. Richie says, Baz, so if we went on to win trophies, then Richie may make legend status then. Well, yeah, if he'd stayed and we did do that, then obviously I think once you win something at a club, you do become a club legend, I think. I mean, or you become a club icon, you know. It depends how you qualify a legend, doesn't it? But I throw them in with winning stuff because we don't win stuff very often, so therefore that puts them in a minority. But
we have to sell somebody. I don't understand why, but I think people have got to understand that we have to sell somebody. We can't keep. It's got to be him or Dominic Calvert-Lewin. The money's on the table for him, and
yeah, if Arsenal to comfort on,
yeah, and
we'd have probably sold him.
I would love to have kept them, but we have to sell him. It's as simple as that, and it's not a great situation, but this is the people who run the club have put us in this situation. So,
Jack Ladd said, the new owners, Daily Mail reported £31 billion they're worth. Yeah, I'd seen that the other week, but it hasn't been seen anywhere else, and people have looked into them and said they're actually not they've hardly worth anything, relatively speaking. So, I don't know. Who knows? Abigail says, why could we not have tried to get a sports or a travel brand? I don't have a huge issue with the new sponsor. It's not desirable, but if it's the best, then the best it can be, then that's fine with me. Brainrot says, keep Gordon. I'm quite sure they will keep Anthony Gordon. So yeah, there you go. That's us done. Listen, these are going to run, aren't they? We'll be back at 5 o'clock. Obviously, it's live at 5. The club call for patrons at 5 o'clock. It's on YouTube. So we'll see you all then. Take it easy. See you later.